What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
This is the spoiler chat for episode 3 of The Bad Batch. We get Nerdy Nightly?
And we thought we'd share it with you.
Yep. Welcome back to another spoiler chat of The Bad Batch here from the Nerdy Nightly. I am really excited to be getting weekly Star Wars. Like, this is really awesome.
Yeah, it's great, honestly. It's a nice thing to look forward to. I know we had WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but Star Wars is nice.
Yeah, especially just because it is a little bit less intense than the Marvel shows. It's not as hype. But it's also not as... There isn't as much riding on it, doesn't feel like.
Yeah.
The show can just kind of be good, you know? We know we're getting Book of Boba Fett. We know we're getting Mandalorian. Like, there's so much Star Wars coming that I don't feel like The Bad Batch has the pressure. When Clone Wars was first airing on TV, I remember being like, Clone Wars has to be amazing because Clone Wars is the only Star Wars. Yeah. Like, Clone Wars was... There was a time when I believed Clone Wars would be the last Star Wars thing we would get.
Really?
It was the mid 2000s. Like I was naive, late 2000s. Yeah, because Disney hadn't bought Star Wars yet, right? So like there was no talk of new movies.
Right.
There was no talk. We weren't even really getting a lot of books and stuff like that. There were no comic books.
Thank God that didn't happen.
Well, some people would disagree, but
yeah.
So like the Clone Wars just had so much pressure on it, and it was a kids show, whereas the Bad Batch feels like it has no pressure on it, and maybe isn't a kids show.
Yeah. It.
This episode had a moment.
Yeah, it seems like a kids show, but then certain things happen, and you're like, oh wow, murdering civilians. This is supposed to be a kids show.
Yeah. So this episode takes place in two parts, right? We have the Bad Batch who crash land on a moon.
Yep.
Because their ship is damaged, leaving Salukama at the end of last episode. And then we have Crosshair and his new team of non-clone Imperial soldiers.
Yeah.
Who have to go try and track down Saw Gerrera, the mission that the Bad Batch refused to complete in the first episode. And let's just start with the Crosshair stuff because I want to get to the Bad Batch stuff, but Crosshair stuff, there isn't a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that like that was really dark.
Yeah. So basically, they talk that the experimenting is going well with Crosshair, and you see it. Like, he is absolutely ruthless.
Yeah. And
there's a new admiral. I can't remember his name.
He gets promoted to admiral.
Or yes. He shows up and he's like, "Look, here's my idea. I brought you these 4 top soldiers that have joined the army," and he's like, they say that there are other ways to get people to join the army and do what you want to do other than making clones and putting chips in them. He's right.
Interesting thing they don't bring up, like, the other upside of that is that if you have an army that is from the place that they are guarding, they tend to know more about the locals and can in some ways institute more control. The downside of that, which they also don't bring up, is that they're more likely to defect, and they're more likely to choose their local nationality pride over an empire. So it really is a catch-22 that it plays out in a lot of Stormtrooper stories from the extended canon. There's very few in the actual movies of Stormtroopers defecting, other than Finn obviously defecting from the First Order. But yeah, it is interesting that they bring this empire is moving fast. They're changing things over real quick. It also seems like this admiral is the one who implemented the
the chain codes. Yeah. Tarkin congratulates him and says it's been working well.
There's so much Bitcoin news, so much Dogecoin news. I can't stop saying blockchain here.
Sure, I don't know what blockchain is, but
blockchain is the system that cryptocurrencies are logged in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wouldn't have known that.
It's how cryptocurrency works.
I just thought you were like confusing your words.
No. It's like
it's a thing.
It's literally the same thing as the chain codes. It's literally sort of like. Never mind. We don't need to get into whether or not blockchains and chain codes are similar. They are.
Sure. All right, back to Star Wars.
So Crosshair gets sent on a mission with some not civilians, but with some infantry.
Yeah.
And they are the new Bad Batch, right? Like you have like the flamethrower guy. They each have like a thing.
Yeah.
That I'm sure we're gonna get to know better throughout the seasons.
Yeah.
And they straight up murder some of Saw Gerrera's people.
Yeah.
And there's the one who what I liked about his arc of this episode is there's the one who is against working with the clone, who seems like he's like, I want to be a good soldier, until he's like, we're gonna murder civilians, and then that guy's like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
let's chill out.
Yeah, like he's very like strong-headed, but like he's very like he he knows what he wants, and like that crosses the line for him, and so Crosshair,
as it should. Look, I'm not saying that anything Crosshair does in this episode is okay, right?
No,
but like,
no. But
when you are shooting people who have guns in a combat situation, there is a level of understanding.
Yeah.
As soon as it is unarmed combatants, you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
Like there is a hard line between those two things.
Yeah. But Crosshair, like the experimenting that they've been doing seems to be working. Like he has absolutely no problem carrying out these orders. He kills the guy who stands up to him and says, "No, I'm not going to kill civilians."
Yep.
Straight up
kills
shoots
the other
him,
soldier,
and then has the other 3 kill the civilians. Just has no problem with it. Just like whatever.
Which is like just confusing. Like it's not good tactics.
Yeah.
Just take them hostage and find out where Saw is, or use them as bait, or like there's just so many other things that you could do.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
does
bad.
Seem weird.
Because he's literally like, all right, we did not find Saw. Let's kill these people and then just go home.
Yeah.
We know we're on the planet Saw's on, but let's give up here. We did enough.
No, they said he left.
Left that area, but like they don't.
Yeah.
They don't know where he is.
I just assume he left world, but I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah,
but
so that was dark. Is this a kid's show? I'm not sure about that, because they just shoot some straight up civilians.
Yeah, dark.
Yeah.
This show is darker than Clone Wars. But it is also taking place during a darker time in the galaxy, and the enemies in the show aren't droids. Like having the enemies be droids in Clone Wars is such a benefit, because you're just destroying a
machines.
series of iPhones. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, whatever. But it gets so much more complicated, and Rebels had to deal with this, right? Like Rebels had to deal with the fact that it is complicated, that the enemy combatants are people.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But on the other side of the story,
this starts off with the most interesting part of the episode, and they don't get too much into it, which is Tech, Echo, and Omega kind of bringing up the fact that Crosshair is not at fault for what is happening, because he is not in control.
Yeah.
And I know that they didn't bring it up a lot this episode, because it is going to be something that is, I'm assuming the rest of the season.
It's going to be probably the big arc, you know. Yeah.
But it was really interesting that they brought that up, and Hunter does not seem to want to talk about it.
Yeah, but then later on in the episode, he says he's upset with himself for leaving him behind.
Oh no, he doesn't want to talk about it because he feels guilty. Not because he's upset. Not because he's upset with Crosshair.
Yeah.
He feels so much guilt.
Yeah.
That he's like, he can't deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, which fair, honestly. Like I can't imagine like that. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, and so they crash land on this moon, and they get attacked by a dragon.
Yeah.
Who is super cute.
Okay, sure.
That thing is adorable.
Sure.
When later on in the episode, at first it's very scary.
I don't know. I did not think it was very cute.
But then Hunter. Okay, so Hunter leaves to go get the part back, right? Because it's been stolen. How do you feel about the fact that he took Omega with him, and what do you think that says about the rest of the show?
Here's the thing. It's weird. As an adult watching this, I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? But knowing that it's a kid's show, I get it. No, like, and here's the thing. In kids' shows, kids often are doing things that they really should not be doing, especially not without adult supervision.
100%.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and as a kid, you're like, wow, this is so cool, whatever, so I'm kind of willing to forgive under the assumption that it is a kids show, but then sometimes it doesn't seem like it's a kids show. And so...
But it's just that like there are 4 fully capable adults there.
Yeah, and they're like, just you're going on a dangerous mission to fight a dragon.
Dragon.
Bring the kid with you.
It just cracked me up. I was like, oh wow, okay, we're putting Omega in danger. And this was a point in the episode where I turned to you and I was like, Omega's force sensitive.
Yeah.
I was like, Omega is definitely force sensitive.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I was like, she has to be, because this is going to be the Mudhorn scene from Mandalorian, where Hunter's going to be in danger and Omega is going to be there with her hand out and she's going to be like, I use the force on you, dragon. And then the dragon will like float in the air.
That did not happen. It turns out apparently the dragon was just like a puppy who wanted to play with toys.
The dragon just needed energy.
Right. So Omega gave him the flashlight and grabbed the part that
Omega is from, they call it a torch.
God. Okay.
She tossed a torch.
No, wrong. A torch is a flaming piece of wood.
Don't tell that to all of our British viewers.
I'll fight you. No, I'm kidding. I don't care.
I'll fight the entire island.
I really don't care.
Except for Liverpool. Liverpool's awesome.
Yeah, that's my grandfather's soccer team, so I'm not going to say anything bad about
Liverpool and AFC Wimbledon. Let's go.
Christ.
Sports. Yeah, so Hunter gets knocked out because his aspirator or whatever they're called.
His thing gets knocked off. Yeah, his mask. And his breather. And Omega is like, oh, I'm going to make sure you're okay. I'm going to be like, oh, you're not awake yet? Okay, well, I'm going to take your gun and I'm going to go get the part from the dragon. But
also, like, the dragon goes into a hole in the ground and I'm like, Omega, don't go in there.
Don't go in there.
You don't know what's in there?
Yeah.
You don't just crawl into holes.
Omega is much braver than I am. Here's the thing.
Yeah, I would be like, well, I guess we live here now.
Yeah. I agree that I think Omega is force sensitive now. Like, I didn't think that that's the direction they go with, but there's the conversation the Kaminoans have at the very end. Where they talk about the fact that they need to make sure that their business stays relevant to the Empire. Because if they go with conscription, you don't need clones, right?
Yeah.
And so they talk about the one of their experiments, which I'm assuming is Omega.
I don't know.
Because Omega is a clone, an experimental clone.
I know,
right?
but what's weird about that conversation is they say that the DNA, Jango Fett's DNA is degrading.
Deteriorating, yeah.
And so they can't keep using it, which is confusing to me.
Because you have a bunch of clones who have the exact same DNA.
Right. So either you can't clone a clone, at which point you don't need Omega, because or you couldn't use Omega if she is a clone, which, we don't know if she's actually a clone.
That's true.
The twist of this might be that she falls in love with being a clone with the Bad Batch, and they think that they're all clones together, and then they find out that she's not a clone at the end, and it's devastating to her. Or like, they made, like, at what point does Jango Fett's DNA degrade?
Yeah.
They've made so many clones. I was a little confused about that, because is it a physical sample that they're cloning all of these clones off of?
That's what they made it sound like.
Which is fine. I just, okay, so... Yeah, that conversation was interesting, but it opened a lot of questions about, like, how the cloning works. Yeah, which they just, like, did not talk about. Which, well, they can't get into it, right? But, like, because, like, they don't know. Yeah. But there was just an element of it to me that I was like, wait, so you can only clone Jango Fett so many times, but you haven't hit that point yet? Yeah,
like, what's the threshold? Like... 3,006,000? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, because there's just there are so many clones in the Clone Wars that I'm like, I feel like you would have, if there was a threshold, you probably hit it. Like, yeah. How much of his blood do you have?
Yeah, I don't know. So that was kind of confusing.
But also they insinuate that when they do, here's what's interesting about it. They insinuate that they only need one to come back. And then the camera does, like, a dramatic turn to the table that they used to sit at, which is empty because the clones are like, oh, that's bitch 99's table. We don't sit there.
Yeah.
I guess. So then it makes you the camera move insinuates that they need one of the Bad Batch to come back, not that they need Omega back, right? Because she's not super associated with that table. At the same time, they have a member of Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So like they have one of the defective clones. Why would they need him to come back?
I don't know.
If they need one of Bad Batch, they have one. If they need Omega, it was a weird like zoom in on the Bad Batch's table.
Yeah.
And if they need Echo, the other option is they need Echo, and they want to make clones who are enhanced by technology.
Yeah. Maybe? Okay, I could see that.
That could be another option. I don't know. I didn't really get. If the sample that you're cloning from is degrading, I don't understand how cloning a clone of a degrading sample is any different than cloning any other clone. I've said the word clone so many times. I feel like it's
just like, yeah.
It is interesting. This episode brought up a lot of interesting questions about where the show is going to go. And I love that the Kaminoans are like... There is this, meme that people don't like politics in Star Wars, right? And like it goes back to like the Trade Federation stuff in Phantom Menace. And what's interesting is that there is this really interesting political side story in this show of the Kaminoans trying to figure out how to continue to work with the Empire.
Yeah.
And it is political behind the scenes machinations of these two Kaminoans. And I actually find that story really interesting.
Yeah, me too. I wish they were giving us a little bit more. Like, and that was why that one-off conversation, like I wanted to bring it up because it's like, I have questions and I'm interested. Like, I need to know.
Well, and what I really want to know is at what point does Kaminoan morality come into this? Like, seriously, at what point are the Kaminoans going to say, ooh, the Empire's taking this too far?
Doesn't feel like that's going to happen.
It doesn't, but I think it will be interesting because right now the Kaminoans are a super united front. So I'm curious, at what point do they break with each other? Because I feel like that's interesting, right? Like, at what point do the Kaminoans finally see what they're doing as bad?
Yeah, I don't know. Does that happen?
I don't know.
Because I don't know. Yeah, like I said, right now it does not feel like there's even a question.
I mean, I'm just saying there's potential for it, right? Because we don't... Sure. Why the Empire stopped using clones, and at what point between Revenge of the Sith and... really Solo, it feels like by Solo, clones have been pretty phased out, which is I think like 10 years from now. If I have my math right. 15 years from now. Actually, no, you know what? Rebels is after Solo. The timeline is so hard to keep in my head. I'm pretty sure... Well, actually, even by Fallen Order, I think that Fallen Order would actually be the next big thing that we know the events of. And I think that in Fallen Order, they're all stormtroopers. And I'm pretty sure Fallen Order takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. So there is kind of a 5-year gap and transition from clones to stormtroopers that they can kind of go whichever way they want. And I think that like a breakdown of the Kaminoan structure that is keeping this clone system going, being a part of the reason why they move on from clones would be really interesting.
But we're not after Revenge of the Sith right now, right?
Yeah, we are.
No, Order 66 happened, which is in...
Yeah, but then... No, but then in that same episode, we saw Palpatine's speech from the end of the movie.
Right, yeah. Okay, yep, you're right.
We might not be all the way to the end of Revenge of the Sith, because I don't actually know how long it took them to build Vader, so we might not be at the, like, no yet. That might not have happened.
Great.
Because, the end of that movie, there's some stuff that could take place weeks later or whatever. But
yeah.
We are past all of the main events of Revenge of the Sith.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the clones could have been on the same planet as Leia. Or not the clones, but Crosshair and...
No, that's Alderaan.
Yeah.
No, they're on Onderon.
Onderon. Okay. I literally heard Alderaan, and I was like, oh, cool.
No. They're on Onderon.
That's
which
confusing.
is not Alderaan.
Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I thought because they had, like...
Well, it's like how there's Tatooine and Dantooine, right? In the original.
At least, like, that, like, has, like, a hard consonant to define them. Like, Onderon?
Onderon?
Onderon.
And Alderaan.
Nah, that's too close. Don't do that to me. No, I hate that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Glad we cleared that up, because this whole time I was like, oh cool, they're on Alderaan.
No,
that's
they're
fun.
on Onderon.
Great.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Oh man, Clarus getting tripped up by a letter. If you are watching The Bad Batch along with us, let us know what you think of this episode in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. I don't think we have anything else to say. That's kind of all the major stuff. Yeah,
we're, the...
Oh, Omega got a room.
Yeah, that was actually really sweet.
That was very sweet.
Wrecker made her own little, spot on the ship, and yeah, it was...
I love that Wrecker is, taking the role of the big brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have, Hunter is being traditionally, patriarchal and fatherly towards her. Wrecker is being, the older brother. And Tech and Echo just sort of ignore her.
Yeah. Yeah, they just...
They don't really pay attention to her at all.
Yeah.
I do love their, odd couple banter of being... Because they're both tech people, but they come at it from different angles.
Yeah.
And Tech is not helpful.
No, Tech is I'm doing a thing that I judge to be the most important thing in this very moment. And you're like...
I'm just going to continue throwing out there that if Tech just communicated better, there wouldn't be as many problems.
Truly. Tech, you are the weakest link. Step up.
Oh, but like this video, subscribe. If you don't like us, please hit the dislike button and please leave me comments down below. The algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. As always, you can find me over at twitch.tv/nerdynightly.
I'm over at twitch.tv/ClarkStricars.
If you catch this the day that it goes up, she is probably playing the new Subnautica Below Zero game over there. Yep. So go enjoy the streams. And as always, y'all, my name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
Do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.